The Pentagon has acknowledged that it conducted an unsuccessful missile defense test on Wednesday. The missile was launched from land and failed to intercept an incoming target launched from an aircraft over Hawaii. A Pentagon spokesperson confirmed the incident yesterday during a press briefing.
It did not meet our objectives, but we learn something all the time with these tests, and we learned something from this one, and we'll continue to improve our capabilities.
All right. To shed light on the issue, Michael Maloof, a former Pentagon official, is joining us live. Now, Michael, when something like this happens, you're always the person who has the right information for us. So let's get to the Trump administration. They have reiterated support for development of this missile defense using the North Korean nuclear threat as justification. However, after this latest test failure, what is the future of a system like this?
Well, there's no other choice but to continue trying to perfect it. This is actually a modification of previous models of the SM-3, as it's called. It's part of the, it's off of the so-called Aegis platform, a type of missile that's about ready to be deployed in Romania, for example. They have a lot of bugs, and you got to consider too that when you're shooting a missile like this, it's like trying to knock a bullet with hit a bullet with another bullet. It's very, very difficult, and what's a little disturbing is that this is the second failure since June, I believe, and they were both shot under controlled conditions. So if a missile is fired in anger from, let's say, North Korea, and it's coming in at a terrific speed, the likelihood of that missile hitting that incoming is going to be extremely difficult. Again, that would not be under controlled conditions. And if the North Koreans, for example, were to do a swarm approach with 4 or 5 missiles at a time, it would absolutely overload the system. So something's going to get through. So the system itself needs a lot of work, and you're talking about technology levels that are still in the infant stage, and it's very difficult. What they're talking about in some cases is maybe working on like a modified SDI, or Strategic Defense Initiative program, and actually having launchers in space, because that's going to be an important future actually in trying to down missiles or even satellites that could in effect be nuclear weapons. But I think that for now the best time really to hit a missile in this case would be once it's launched, just after it's launched. But it could be a test, and that's one of the dilemmas facing policymakers and defense experts as to, is that missile a test or is it the real thing? Mm-hmm. And so there's a long way to go in this development program, frankly.
Michael, I want to go back to something you brought up just a bit ago, North Korea. Of course, missile tests don't happen in a vacuum. There's the political situation as well. If the Pentagon isn't sure its missile defense system is reliable, is it a good idea for the U.S. president to be provoking North Korea by engaging in a war of words with Kim Jong-un?
Well, I take your point, and the answer is absolutely not. In fact, that feeds his narrative of that the United States is really out to do away with his regime, and survival for Kim Jong-un is absolutely critical and essential. And so any kind of military exercises, any sending B-2s from Guam to do practice runs over just south of the North Korean border of the 38th parallel of the DMZ zone, it's tantamount to a provocation in the eyes of the North Koreans. And we should be doing, we already have 3 carrier task forces right off of North Korea right now, and those are all provocations to try to put maximum pressure on him. But if he feels cornered, he may do the very thing that we're trying to prevent, and that is unleash a war. Now, his nukes would probably not be used on South Korea. That's too close. But he certainly could open up with a barrage of artillery that he has. He has 10,000 artillery pieces along the DMZ, hidden, deeply embedded in mountains. So to have that kind of a provocation doesn't serve any purpose. And also, it doesn't get him to do away with his nuclear and missiles that this administration has pledged will be done on Donald Trump's watch. But I've seen this movie before, and it just hasn't happened yet, even when it was in the development stage.
We have seen this movie play out. We haven't seen how it ends yet. And unfortunately, it seems to be one of those movies that just keeps playing and playing and playing. And hopefully we can find an end to it sometime soon. Michael Maloof, incredibly interesting to hear your thoughts. Former Pentagon official with us here on RT International.
Thank you.